And with the Iowa caucuses and then the New Hampshire primary just a month away, we begin the new year with two candidates who have a lot riding on those early states. New Jersey Governor Chris Christie and former Florida Governor Jeb Bush. First, Governor Christie, who has spent more time in New Hampshire than any of the other Republican candidates. Governor, Happy New Year and welcome back to Fox News Sunday.
Governor Douchebag.
Happy New Year to you, Chris, and looking forward to getting back to New Hampshire this afternoon.
Well, as we said, you went after Marco Rubio this week, saying, dude, show up for work or quit, which brought a lot of heavy fire. Check it out.
Chris Christie's a funny guy, but he's never in New Jersey. He's gone half the time.
The people in New Jersey want to throw him out of office. We're going to hell, and our governor's up in New Hampshire every single day having town hall meetings.
Now, New Jersey reporters have researched this. They say that you have been away from New Jersey for all or part of 72% of the time since you announced you were running for president. And when you look at the total, over 200 days in 2015, which raises the question, who are you to criticize?
I'm on the job every day, Chris. And that's the difference between being a governor and being a senator. You know, I'm on the job every day. Senator Rubio just hasn't shown up to vote. And listen, I understand he can't be there every day. He's running for president. I get that. But, you know, there was a $1.15 trillion spending bill, which he said he was absolutely opposed to. I would think he could take one day off of fundraising to just go and cast his no vote and speak on the floor to try to persuade his colleagues. But anybody who's been a governor, and I understand those who haven't been don't understand this, I am on the job every day, no matter where I am. It's never a day off, and I'm always working to help the people of New Jersey and to do my job.
Bullshit. You say you're on the job every day, but I got to tell you, and it's something you know, you're getting hammered in New Jersey for being away so much. The Asbury Park Press issued this report card on New Year's Day. They gave you a D overall, a D on the economy and jobs, and a D- on leadership, complained about your being away so much. And in the latest poll, your approval numbers are the worst since you became governor. 33% approve, 62% disapprove. Governor, these are the people of New Jersey who know you best.
Well, listen, I'm not shocked that a liberal newspaper gives me those grades, but let's talk about the facts. They gave me that grade on jobs, yet New Jersey in 2015, without the December numbers, Chris, already has had the best job growth year in the private sector it's had in 15 years. The best year since 2000. So this is obviously just partisanship on their part, because if they looked at the numbers, I've done better than the last 5 governors have done in New Jersey in terms of job creation. And so they're just dead wrong on that. And as for any of the other stuff, you know, fact is, whenever you're looking for a new job, your current employer gets a little miffed. I get that. But I was very honest with the people in New Jersey in 2013 when I ran for re-election. I told them there was a possibility I would run for president, and so I've told them the truth. And if they're a little miffed about it now, I completely understand that. It's understandable, but I'm working hard to become the next president of the United States.
Well, let's talk about that, because you are surging, especially in New Hampshire. According to the Real Clear Politics average of polls in late October, you were running 9th at 3%. Now you're running 4th with 11.3%. And the question is, Governor, what's happened?
I think it's paying off, the hard work, all the time that I've spent, that Mary Pat has spent in the state of New Hampshire, putting forward a really clear, strong vision for putting Homeland Security first. You know, Chris, when you listen to the President of the United States, and he said that the reason people are so anxious is because they're watching too much cable news, and that the only problem with his strategy on ISIS is that, in fact, he needs a better PR strategy. And then Mrs. Clinton says in New Hampshire a week or two ago that we're exactly where we need to be on ISIS. They want a strong former federal prosecutor and governor who understands how to get this job done. And I think that's what the people in New Hampshire are responding to. And I can tell you, I feel it in Iowa, too, just having come back from there a few days ago.
Well, as we said, you have spent more time in New Hampshire than any other Republican candidate. And the conventional wisdom is that New Hampshire is terribly important for you. You either have to finish first, or if second, you have to finish ahead of the other so-called establishment candidates like Marco Rubio or Jeb Bush. Is it win or out for you in New Hampshire?
Absolutely not, Chris. I mean, listen, You said it yourself. In October, we were in 9th place in New Hampshire. We're now, 3rd or 4th, depending upon what poll you look at. Fact is that we just need to do very well there. And we need to do well in Iowa, too. And I think we'll do well in both places. And then we'll be able to move on. This field will get narrowed to 4 or 5 folks, I suspect, after New Hampshire. We're going to be in that 4 or 5, and we're going to be ready to compete around the country.
So, not to get too processy, but this is where at that time of year, if you were to finish behind one of the other establishment candidates like Rubio, like Bush, you could still survive.
Of course.
Okay. That's a quick answer.
Yeah.
One of the things that you pointed out.
I'm not going to get too processy, Chris.
One of the things that you pointed out just a moment ago is that terrorism and a strong leader in fighting terrorism is a big issue. It's one of the issues that you are running on. Here you are at the last Republican debate.
We prosecuted 2 of the biggest terrorism cases in the world and stopped Fort Dix from being attacked by 6 American radicalized Muslims from a mosque in New Jersey. I'm the only person on this stage who's actually filed applications under the Patriot Act, who have gone before the federal, the Foreign Intelligence Service Court.
But critics say that you have, quite frankly, greatly exaggerated your record on this. First, your claim that you personally went before, we just heard you say, personally went before the FISA court to get national security wiretaps. Truth is, you never did that.
Our office went before it, and we provided all the information, and I need to sign off on all that information to provide to the Justice Department so that they could go before and get the information that we needed, that we requested based upon our investigation, Chris. These are, if you look at those criticisms, there are 2 things they have in common. 1, they're working for other candidates, and 2, they've never done a lick of work for the Department of Justice. All the people in any of those stories who had ever done any professional work for the Department of Justice didn't have those complaints, and they knew exactly what I meant.
All right. Second, and it's not just, frankly, your other the rivals who are saying it's also independent, the New York Times, and if they're not working for another candidate, they're certainly not favorable to you. But I don't think they're working for one of the other Republicans. They say, the New York Times does, that you claim that you prosecuted, and we just heard the clip, 2 of the biggest terrorism cases in the world. Now, I want to make it clear that there's no question that you have a record of fighting terrorism, but those particular cases that you cite were both FBI stings where the people involved were under surveillance for months. Well, it was the Lakhani case and the Fort Dix case, and there was never anything close to an actual attack, sir.
Chris, you're half right. The Lakhani case was a sting case, but the Fort Dix 6 case was not a sting case. Once we received the intelligence that was done from the hard work of the people in the FBI and our office, we were then able to monitor those folks, but the plans were already underway for them to attack Fort Dix.
But they were under surveillance.
On the second part.
They were under surveillance for
Chris,
months, were they not, sir?
But Chris, that's our job. I mean, would you rather have the Boston bombing where people were not under surveillance and people were killed and maimed?
No,
and those folks were planning for quite some time too. What we did with Fort Dix, these were people who had already begun to plan an attack. They'd already begun to plan an attack. They'd begun to train. We had video of them training for this attack. We then began to surveil them. That's what modern law enforcement is supposed to be, something the Obama administration obviously doesn't understand. And I do understand it because I've done it. And so to try to minimize the Fort Dix 6 case, it is being done by the New York Times, who, by the way, 8 weeks ago called for me to drop out of the race. So I hardly think they're an objective source.
Finally, I got to say, you're in mid-season form. Finally, President Obama,
thank you, my friend,
is expected to announce executive action on new gun controls this week to expand background checks and also to bar more accused domestic abusers from being able to buy guns. Your reaction to that?
This president is a petulant child. Whenever he can't get what he wants, because, quite frankly, the American people have rejected his agenda by turning both the House and the Senate over to the Republicans, and going from 21 governors when he came into office to 31 Republican governors now. Now this president wants to act as if he's a king, as if he's a dictator. Fact is, if he wants to make changes to these laws, go to Congress and convince the Congress that they're necessary. But this is going to be another illegal executive action, which I'm sure will be rejected by the courts. And when I become president, will be stricken from executive action by executive action I'll take.
But the record seems to indicate, sir, that you have flipped on gun control. They know, critics do, that in 2013, when you were running for re-election, that you signed 10 bills tightening gun restrictions, including banning handgun purchases by people on the terror watch list, and the NRA that year when you were running for re-election only gave you a C. And they say, critics do, and some of them, yes, your rivals, say that you have changed your tune on gun control since you started running for president.
I haven't changed my tune, Chris. In fact, I signed the bill that banned guns for people on the terror watch list. As president, I would make sure that terror watch list was actually accurate. But I think most Americans believe that if you're on the terror watch list, you shouldn't be able to buy guns. But I also have vetoed the 50 caliber rifle ban. I've also vetoed a statewide ID system. I've also vetoed a reduction in the magazine ban. And I've also pardoned 6 different folks so far who have been caught up very unfairly, in my view, in New Jersey's gun laws. So listen, the approach I'm going to take is to protect Second Amendment rights, but also to make sure that I make decisions that are in the best interest of the people of New Jersey. I think that's what people in the United States want. That's the kind of president I'm going to be.
Governor, thank you. Thanks for your time. Happy New Year, and we will see you on the campaign trail.
Happy New Year to you too, Chris, and I look forward to being on again.
Good.
Douche
Up
bag.
next, a shift in campaign strategy for Jeb Bush as the former frontrunner tries to regain his momentum.